bring Dave Weinberg into the conversation here on the Eagles as they get ready to go to Minnesota. Dave, you got all your winter clothes ready?
Yeah, I sure do. It's going to be a little chilly, I think.
Woo! Yesterday, it's funny because we had Joe Callahan in the studio yesterday, and I asked him what it was like living in Green Bay, and he said it's very cold. And I said, when does it start to get cold? He said, about November. Once the season's over, he's like, and as soon as the season's over, everyone's out of there because it's so cold. Minnesota's similar. I guess those guys probably get the heck out of there as fast as they can because it's not going to be very warm up there, but I guess the Eagles fans won't care because they are there, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter the venue and what city it's in. It should be a big party.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, I was in Minnesota for a playoff game in January a few years ago. That's the coldest I've ever been in my life.
Woo.
And I only had to walk like 2 blocks to the stadium, but my ears hurt, my teeth hurt. It was just awful.
I know Minnesota, though, is very unique in that it has, like, walkways to get from, each building,
correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, all the buildings downtown connect indoors, so you don't rarely have to go outside. So that's a big feature to have.
It's like going from casino to
right.
casino.
The Eagles fans don't care. They're just happy to be there.
In all your years covering the Eagles, what was the atmosphere? Where does it rank from Sunday?
Oh, it was right up there at the top with maybe the 2004 championship game. It was just it was bedlam. I mean, people were laughing, crying, screaming, yelling, confetti's coming down. I was personally kind of a little more touched in 2004 only because it was like guys like Brian Dawkins who had played so long without ever getting to that point. They're like, and the Super Bowl was going to his hometown. He grew up in Jacksonville, so it meant quite a bit. But I mean, I don't mean to mean what happened on Sunday. That was fantastic as well. At least for the people that didn't read my column.
Well, people are texting into our show wanting Dave Weinberg to apologize to the people. So I saw you tweet last night. I said, well, Dave, I give you, you can put it out on social media, but I'll give you a verbal chance if you'd like. I mean, you don't have any reason to have to apologize for your pick.
No, I'm not quite sure who I'm supposed to apologize to. I've heard some people say the fans and heard some people say the team, but as you well know, that's not my job. I don't have pom-poms in my desk drawer. I don't have I don't wear an Eagles jersey to every game. It's my job to do what I think, and I thought the Vikings were going to win, and I wrote it. But I was surprised at how many people took offense to it. Although I will say, I will give them a lot of credit. They seemed to be willing to forgive me after today's game.
Well, and as I said earlier, Dave, a lot of the national pundits picked against the Eagles. There's a website, NFLpick.com or something to that effect. It tracks all the national analyst picks, about 140 different people from ESPN and Fox and CBS and Bleacher Report and NFL Network, yada, yada, yada. 79% of those pickers went with Minnesota. 79% went with Atlanta the week before. And people say some experts or some analysts. And my point is, picking the result of a game is not what makes you an expert or an analyst. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't know the result of the game, you're just giving an opinion. You accumulate the facts based on all the information that you grasp leading up to that game, and then you give an opinion based on what you do. We have no idea what the outcomes of these games are going to be.
Right. And people seem to forget I picked the Eagles to beat the Falcons the week before, but they didn't want to hear about that. All they wanted to know is, I guess, because I wrote such a lengthy column about, and people were really upset, I guess, or mad because of the fact that I said that the Vikings fans deserved it more.
Yes. Now, what was I didn't read the column. I didn't read that column. What was the base? Because it was Sunday, right?
Yes.
So what was the basis of why their fans deserved it more?
Well, let's see. It wasn't to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, it wasn't to win the Super Bowl. I didn't say that. I just said that they deserved to win the NFC Championship more. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl in 2004. The last time the Vikings went to the Super Bowl was 1976. I think those fans have suffered a little bit more. That's the reason I said it. I didn't mean any disrespect to Eagles fans. I know they've been waiting a long time as well. They've been waiting a long time for a championship. That was not the point. The point was that they deserve to win to go to the Super Bowl because it's been so long since they've even been there.
Well, Dave,
but people didn't want to hear that.
Well, in 2018, people don't read full-length columns. I mean, come on, they only retain 220 characters now, right?
Right, that's true.
So after the first paragraph, the ADD kicked in, and anything else after that, everybody forgot. It happens to me all the time. I say something, and 7 seconds later, what I just said completely gets thrown out the window, and you said this. Well, you didn't hear what I said before that. How about
Well, I have pretty thick skin, so really the only thing that really got to me was just the amount of vulgar, idiotic, personal comments. I didn't really appreciate that much, but it's real easy to hide behind Facebook and Twitter or whatever without having to, to address the person in person,
Welcome to my world daily.
I hear you.
A verbal text board comes in at me at all times of the day.
I'm sure.
Nick Foles, you covered him in 13, 27-2. You saw him these last two games. What is different about this Nick Foles from that Nick Foles?
Actually, it's kind of the same. I mean, it was on Sunday anyway. As I've said, and even he'd be the first one to admit it, that this is not the same person. He's more mature. He's more centered. He has a wife and a daughter and a dog he keeps pointing out. And he's just more, I think he's less overwhelmed by the moment. I think in 2013, that took everybody by surprise, including him, I think, a little bit. And he just wasn't ready, I don't think, to handle that spotlight. Now, I think he is. He's been around the block a few times. He's seen things. He's played a lot of games. He knows what to expect, although he's never been to a Super Bowl, but he's been to a playoff game before. So he kind of had a better idea of what was to come and how he was going to handle it, I think.
I started off today by talking about, 2013 was this fairy tale, 27-2. It's just, you don't write that. This guy came out of nowhere and had that season. And it didn't end the way that a fairy tale would end. How apropos would it be for that fairy tale ending to happen next week, to go from 27-2 to off the beaten path to winning the Super Bowl against Tom Brady? I mean, it would almost be too good of a story to write.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic for him, especially because, there was a point there where he was almost considering retiring from the game.
And why was that? Why did he consider retiring?
I don't know that he was questioning whether his heart was in it, and he didn't want to continue unless he was able to give it his all. Unless his heart was still in the game. He sat down with his family, had a long talk with them, had a long talk with himself, and determined that he should. This is the game he's been playing his whole life. He still loved it, even though things hadn't gone the way he wanted. But he thought he could give it one more shot. He thought he deserved to do it one more shot, and that's when he signed with Kansas City, and then came to the Eagles after that.
It's wild because, here's a guy who was an afterthought all season long. He didn't play in the preseason, right? I mean, the elbow problem.
Right.
He was a big question mark.
He missed the entire preseason, yep.
Yeah, and then now he's become essentially the most important guy, because you can make an argument that entering the playoffs, it was, you can't have this guy lose you the game. Just don't lose him the game. Last week, you can make the argument, yes, the defense played great and realistically has been the best unit, to me, Dave, of all the teams that made the playoffs. The Eagles' defense has been the best unit out of all every playoff team, AFC, NFC. For 2 weeks, they've been the best unit on the field. But you can make the argument that the way he played, he's part of the reason why they won that game. It's not that he don't lose us. He won them the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 3 touchdown passes, no mistakes. Just did a masterful job of leading the offense, and he's really taken hold of. He'll be the first one to tell you that he knows this is Carson Wentz's team, that he's going to be the franchise quarterback going forward. But right now, this is Nick Foles' team, and he's also been clear about that as well. I mean, he appreciates the support he gets from everybody, but he's very much a leader, despite what people might think about him. He's kind of like a all shucks, Napoleon Dynamite looking guy, but he's very confident in his ability. He's one of the hardest workers I've seen. Studies film ad nauseum, always on the practice field. above and beyond what he needs to do. And he's worked really hard to develop that rapport with the receivers because, like you said, he missed all of training camp, or basically most of training camp and all the preseason. So it's taken him a while to develop that chemistry with Zach Ertz, with Alshon Jeffrey. But now you're seeing the rewards for his hard work.
Now, Dave, I know we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because there is a game to be played and everything's positive and get ready for the game. But if you have Super Bowl champion Nick Foles, what happens next?
Well, I don't know for a fact, but I have a feeling that Carson's not going to be ready for the start of next season, just because of the injury that he suffered. Generally takes a little while to come back from. But like I said, it's pretty clear that this is Carson's team. I mean, he was one of the major reasons that they got here, NFL MVP candidate. So as soon as he's able to do it, it's his team again.
Right. Well, but do they keep him around as a backup? Does Howie start to make phone calls? I mean, do you capitalize on this? Because we've seen in the past, A.J. Feely played well for about 6 games. They get a second-round pick. Kevin Cobb played well for about a half a season. They get a second-round pick. And Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. I mean, does Howie capitalize on this short run and say, you know what, I got to move on and try to get something? Like, I guess the real question is, how much do they believe in Nate Sudfeld to be able to move on from Nick if he goes on to win the Super Bowl? Right.
They just, I think they have to see a little bit more from Nate, but they seemed encouraged enough to prevent Indianapolis from stealing him off the practice squad, so they must think that he has a future here. And you're right. I mean, Howie should at least, pick up the phone, and kick the tires. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And who knows, if somebody's willing to give you a third-round pick or a second-round pick from Nick, then he'd be crazy not to do it.
Yeah. It should be a fun week leading up. Just on the surface, I know it's early, but just on the surface, do you like the matchup?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's really interesting. You have the Patriots with all that Super Bowl experience. Brady and Belichick, 5 Super Bowl rings, among them. And Eagles are back here for the first time, but they really defied expectations. And the beginning of the year, fans can complain to me all they want, but nobody expected them to go 13-3. I don't care who you are. And no one expected them to be at this point either. So, the fact that you have that classic underdog versus favorite, matchup, that's what dream matchups are made for. And I'm really looking forward to getting out there and covering it.
Should be fun. Tom Brady, Nick Foles, one guy, not improbable. The other one, maybe the most improbable story you can come up with in 2017-18 season. Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. No need to apologize to anyone, Dave.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
All right, pal. Take care. We'll talk next week.
All right. Take care, Mike.